The summer of 1914 is well remembered for the outbreak of World War I, which would escalate to cause a total of 8.5 million casualties during the next 4 years. Although President Wilson sought to keep the United States neutral, Congress voted in April 1917 to declare war on Germany, and conflict continued until armistice was declared in 1918, and the Treaty of Versailles was signed in June of 1919. Later that year, while in Los Angeles for a Shrine Auditorium rally seeking support for ratification of the Treaty of Versailles, President Wilson and his wife Edith paid a surprise visit to St. Paul's Pro Cathedral, attending morning prayer at 11 a.m. on Sunday, September the 21st. Dean McCormick's sermon for the day was titled God's Formula for Despondency. The California visit was one of Wilson's last public appearances before he collapsed later that week on September 25th in Pueblo, Colorado. A Presbyterian and past president of Princeton University, Wilson became the only president laid to rest in Washington National Cathedral. Locally in Southern California, 1914 was also notable for the release of the first feature-length movie filmed in Hollywood. A Western titled The Squaw Man, the movie was the first assignment of Cecil B. DeMille, who produced the film with Jesse Lasky. DeMille went on to remake the film twice, first in 1918, and then as a talkie in 1931. The vistas opened to the world by way of Hollywood and the silver screen significantly changed the course of history. That DeMille's list of film credits includes The Ten Commandments, King of Kings, and other faith-oriented productions is sometimes credited to the influence of his father, a lay reader in the Episcopal Church in Massachusetts. When DeMille arrived in Hollywood in 1913, followed by his wife Constance and daughter Cecilia, they began attending services at St. Stephen's Church in Hollywood. When the Bishop of Winchester visited Los Angeles in 1929, DeMille, together with Louis B. Mayer, joined Los Feliz priest Neil Dodd and Bishop Bertrand Stevens in welcoming their English guest. Although nominal in church attendance, DeMille made gifts toward the construction of St. Stephen's current church, where for many years the movie's marble facsimile 10 Commandments were displayed, and where DeMille's funeral was held on January 23, 1959. The 1920s were an unprecedented boom decade for Los Angeles. Population had climbed from 102,000 in 1900 to more than 1.2 million in 1920, and Bishop Johnson worked diligently to keep pace. In 1919, he called for the election of a bishop coadjutor, and William Bertrand Stevens, a native of Maine and a highly esteemed parish priest in the Bronx and San Antonio, was elected. His consecration was held October 20th, 1920, in St. Paul's Pro Cathedral. Soon after, it was decided that a new cathedral church was needed to keep pace with the growth of Los Angeles. A prime opportunity in this effort came when the developers of the present Biltmore Hotel purchased the Pro Cathedral property on Olive Avenue in 1922. The new St. Paul's Cathedral was then built on Figueroa Street just north of Wilshire Boulevard and consecrated in 1924 by Bishop Johnson. The bishop's son, the renowned architect Reginald Davis Johnson, designed the cathedral. Other of his commissions included the Good Samaritan Hospital building opened in 1924, All Saints Church in Pasadena dedicated in 1923, and the Santa Barbara Biltmore Hotel. Other significant churches were built during this period, including St. John's, located near USC, and named the diocese's Pro Cathedral by Bishop Bruno in 2008. Throughout his 32-year episcopate, Bishop Johnson was well known and loved throughout Southern California, especially because of his deep interest in and love for people. It is said he never forgot the name of anyone he met. After a period of illness, Bishop Johnson died on May 26, 1928, at age 81. His death was headline news, and an overflow crowd filled St. Paul's Cathedral for his funeral. He was buried in San Gabriel Cemetery, final resting place of numerous Southern California pioneers, including Benjamin Wilson. Very soon, Bishop Stevens, like other leaders, was contending with the dire impact of the Great Depression. He took a large cut in his salary, and in 1932 he made an unprecedented bishop's pilgrimage of prayer, driving consecutively to each congregation of the diocese, which then spanned 8 counties. 1932 was also the year of the Olympic Games in Los Angeles. Bishop Stevens's calm and good-humored leadership also saw the diocese through the challenges of World War II, in days of rationing and blackout shades, when Los Angeles feared it could be a next target after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. The bishop supported women laborers remembered as Rosie the Riveter in the large Southern California defense industry. He guided pastoral care through the devastating loss of life, more than 60 million casualties, and with 6 million Jews and others who perished in the Holocaust before VE Day and VJ Day in 1945.
Today is Victory in Europe Day.
Bishop Stevens was ably assisted in ministry by Bishop Suffragan Robert Burton Gooden, consecrated in St. Paul's Cathedral on May 27, 1930. Bishop Gooden served with distinction as rector of St. Luke's Long Beach and as head of the Harvard School, among other ministries. And the diocese looked to his pastoral care when, on August 22, 1947, Bishop Stevens died unexpectedly from complications of surgery at Good Samaritan Hospital, bringing to a close his 19 years of Episcopal ministry. Mourners packed St. Paul's Cathedral for his funeral, followed by his burial at San Gabriel Cemetery. His legacy of love of the outdoors is carried forward today by Camp Stevens, the Diocesan Camp and Conference Center in Julian. One of the bishop's 4 daughters, Emily Stevens Hall, was in 1980 ordained a priest and later served as president of the Diocesan Standing Committee. Emily Hall recalled her father as, quote, a very forward-looking man. He would have been fascinated by computers and chips and Moog synthesizers, and probably even by professional football. At the time of Bishop Stevens's death, St. Paul's Cathedral was led by its dean, Francis Eric Bloy, an English-born 4th-generation clergyman who was subsequently elected 3rd Bishop of Los Angeles on January 28, 1948. He was 43 years old when his consecration followed in St. Paul's Cathedral, making him the youngest bishop in the Episcopal Church. Like his father before him, Bishop Bloy had served as rector of St. James by the Sea in La Jolla. Bishop Bloy was an expert in Eastern religions and an amateur astronomer who enjoyed his telescope and observatory in the backyard of his home in Flint Ridge. Writing in 1953, Bishop Gooden observed that, quote, Bishop Bloy entered on his episcopate at a time of great difficulty due to the influx of people into the diocese and the rise of new communities in almost every direction. He approached this task with valor, wisdom, vision, statesmanship, true devotion, and a living faith. Eric Bloy's 20th anniversary as bishop was marked with a celebratory gathering at the Hollywood Bowl, and his legacy is carried forward in the work of Bloy House, the Episcopal Theological School at Claremont. During his episcopate, Bishop Bloy was ably assisted by 2 bishops suffragan, Donald Campbell, whose brother Alexander was founder and first headmaster of Campbell Hall School, and Ivel Curtis, elected while rector of St. James, Wilshire, and who later was elected bishop of the Seattle-based Diocese of Olympia. During Bishop Bloy's 25-year tenure, 46 of the existing parishes and missions of the Diocese of Los Angeles were founded, and the former diocesan house on West 4th Street was opened in 1963. The bishop took an active role in the fund drives that financed this burst of mission activity. In a 1988 interview, Bishop Bloy recalled, quote, what stands out in my memory was the rapid growth of Los Angeles and the various ethnic groups that came into Southern California. I was very pleased with the general outreach of the parishes and their concern about the problems that faced us as a growing community.